Hey everyone, my name is Ash, and I have never read a Martian Manhunter comic. You believe that? Not that there's really a lot of them. I've always thought Martian Manhunter was cool from a periphery, just because he had a cool name and he had a kind of a cool look. I was never a DC fan. I say this story a lot, but I have to assume that this might be your first video. I was never a DC fan. In fact, I was a Marvel fan for. I collected comics for about 10 years, from the 80s and the 90s. I was a huge Marvel fanboy, and I also got into Image because Image was just like Marvel All Stars, really. And they just did things the Marvel way, so it was this kind of an extension. And I always thought DC was stupid, except for Batman. Everyone loves Batman. It's just one of those things. Superman was okay to me, but I just thought his character was hokey and too powerful and not interesting because I didn't understand it. Now, I'm describing to you my prejudices right now, not bashing on anything. Okay, these were my mistakes. It's ironic because when I was a kid, what got me into superheroes made me think superheroes were cool, kind of stuck in my subconscious with Super Friends. And I enjoyed Super Friends, but I think as a kid, I didn't have that same perspective, you know. I did always think the Wonder Twins were stupid, right? So I guess I had a little bit of perspective. So here I am today. I took about a 20-year hiatus out of comics. In the 90s, I got out right before the crash from the speculator boom. I don't really actually remember why. I always loved comics. It wasn't like I was like, comics are dumb now. My life changed. I don't know. Something was going on that just caused me to stop, and I had tons of comics, and I don't know. Maybe I just didn't have the finances. So 20 years or so passed. I keep my ear to the ground. I see all the comic book movies. I'm still interested in the characters, and there's been a couple times where I've considered getting into comics. I moved out to Colorado for a while, for like 17 years. And so I was like, hey, I got Mile High Comics out here, and I'd go by there and they'd like kind of push, those buttons. And you're like, come on, this is what you. But I just never really did. I had other hobbies and just too little money, too little time. So keeping ear to the grindstone. I remember when Captain America made Captain America Nazi, and that was kind of like the final straw where I was like, okay, nope. Yeah, I'm not getting back into comics ever. I don't know what the hell's going on in comics today, but if they can make Captain America a Nazi, then there's just no way I'm spending money. And then a little over a year ago, I discovered comic culture on YouTube. And a little known YouTuber named Richard C. Meyer, Diversity in Comics, aka our boy Zach, really caught my attention with what he was doing. And he was doing two particular things. One, he was bashing what was going on in comics. Just calling that shit out. But not doing it in like a hateful, angst-ridden, I'm someone who you piss all over my childhood type of thing. Just pointing it out from a logical, like, stupidity point of view. And, pointing out that you have a fan base, and it doesn't matter that fan base is nerd culture, people living in basement, whatever. These are customers, and you're doing stupid things, and these are the guys that are your bread and butter, and you're doing it for social agendas. They're just mind-boggling. But he didn't stop there. It was clear that he had a passion for comics. He wasn't there just to a lot of people accuse him of just wanting to profit off of hate or whatever. He doesn't do that at all. In fact, it was his passion for comics, and in his, reviews where he was, ripping up comics, I think he was the one that made ripping up bad comics popular. That sorry, trains of thought started diverging there. He started doing that, and a lot of people was like, oh, that's all you do. But I noticed that a minority of the comics, it was smaller, but it was a minority, he would be really excited about. And sometimes they'd be by creators that he had bashed for their social agendas and doing things, and he'd be like, wow, look at this person did a good comic for once. Like, and he would be fair. And I really appreciated that. And the stuff that was really good, he'd get really excited about. And it made me feel those feelings. I mean, I had those same feelings once before. I remember what that was like, that enjoyment of comics and what they can do for you. And I was like, man, it just slowly, over the months, that fire started being relit. And I was like, I really miss this. I want to be back in the comics. So, what do? Marvel's a big dumpster fire, right? Image had long ago, most of the big guys that made Image set sail, only leaving like a few behind. McFarlane just kind of off in his own wonderland, doing his own thing. Larson being kind of the premier guy, and I was a big Eric Larson fan when he was doing Amazing Spider-Man. And then I'll come to find out the guy's just turned into a total tool. And I just so I'm like, what? The landscape looks bleak. But DC Comics, at the time, when I got back, those fires relit, Richard was reviewing 2 DC Comics. One was Mr. Miracle, and the other one was White Knight. And those were I was like, oh, those look really cool. Those don't look like the stupid DC Comics that I hate. And again, my hate was prejudice. I didn't know what I was talking about. And I picked it up. And oh my God, White Knight was astounding. I haven't been more excited about a comic than when I first discovered Frank Miller. I'm not being hyperbolic. That is how much Scott Snyder impresses me. This guy is not Scott Snyder. I totally misspoke. Don't know why I said Scott Snyder. Let me correct myself. Sean Gordon Murphy. How much Sean Gordon Murphy impresses me. That guy is a superstar. And he is, by all accounts, in my opinion, he may not have reached that level because of what he's doing, and I don't think his career path, he's steering it the same way, but he could really be like the next Jim Lee, in my opinion. I think he's jumped to doing his own thing too quickly rather than just building his career in mainstream comics to where he gets the widest audience the way Jim Lee did with X-Men and people just being like, I think if he did, for instance, like Batman run, just got on Batman and was doing it for a year or two, get that audience to be like, oh my God, and that notoriety, because people didn't notice Jim Lee that much. I was like a Punisher, I was like, hey, he's a good artist, but it was when he got on X-Men, his career blew up. Anyways, I'm rambling here. That guy was amazing. Now, I bought the first issue of Mr. Miracle, and then I forget why I stopped, but something told me to stop. I kind of know why. No, I don't really. I'm not going to go into it. But suffice it to say, I didn't follow Mr. Miracle. But I did realize, you know what? At the time, there's other good DC comics. I found some other YouTubers, and I discovered Venditti, who now does Hawkman, but he was doing Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps. Then more DC came out with their New Age of Heroes, which was fantastic. There's 8 different books. Their launch and their commitment to it was terrible, but it was awesome, and I really feel like they dropped the ball there. They still have a couple books. I'm still getting 2 of them. You can see my reviews. I'll talk more about those and those things, but I love what I started just becoming this like I was a kid again. When I discovered Marvel and just being like, oh my God, look at this, look at that. Discovering like Red Hood and the Outlaws, and I knew Batman because I had bought Batman before. There was the one DC title, but I didn't. Oh, I'm Superman. I picked up Superman. Tomasi's run on Superman made me fall in love with the character as a comic book. Now all of a sudden I found myself like loving Superman comics more than Batman comics, which was bizarre to me. What Tomasi was doing with Superman was phenomenal. They got me to like Super Sons, which I was just so dead set against. I was so prejudicial I always hated Superboy. I still hate the concept of Superboy, except for Jonathan Kent. And specifically the way Tomasi did him. Fan-freaking-tastic. Anyways, it opened my mind. I became a DC. I'm now a DC fan. This is my first year as DC. I don't know squat about Martian Manhunter. I've seen him one time in a Bendis book, which I'm sure is wrong. Now, you've been super patient with me. I really appreciate that. You're like, Ash, it's just 10 minutes. You haven't even looked at the book. I am so sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Okay? You're here to listen and talk. Hopefully. I mean, I'm just giving you an opinion of a comic book. My reason for being here is to talk about comics. So I'm going to give you what you came here for, which is this review. But hopefully you indulge me a little bit to hear what I have to say. I'm going to start off here. One thing that annoyed the crap out of me is this. Brilliant, bold, bloody. Orlando and Rosmo using a thrilling superhero noir to explore identity and alienation in modern America. When's the next one out already? Tom King. Okay, first of all, I don't mind you putting a blurb like this, but this is obviously biased as one of your top writers. Like, if this had been just an independent novelist or something that you gave a preview copy to, and they were like, oh, I'm going to, write this, or even a comic book person who's not an in-house person, like a Frank Miller had wrote this, I'd be like, oh, okay, but it's almost like someone in the office like, hey, Tom King, say something so we can put it on the cover. Oh, okay, it's amazing. It just comes off so bad to me. But it's not the comic. You didn't pay for that. Here's what you paid for. Oh, and by the way, look at this cover. I like the alt cover, but I really like this cover. First of all, I like the art. I love that he looks more alien than human. And I love those eyes. I love the way the logo's in the middle, the badge, being really a strong focal point to show you that he's a manhunter, like he's a cop. This is a strong cover to me, especially for a first issue. It doesn't signify anything what's happening in the issue. Some people think I need the cover to tell me what's happening. This is introducing you to the character. And it's doing it fantastic. I love this. Now, problem is, this guy does the interior art. And so, here we have. Just take a look. It's not too bad, really, actually. It's trying to be alien. And I really actually do like it when aliens are really alien and not just like humans with different color skin or pointy ears or something, like they really go out of their way to say, this looks non-human. So the book starts off, I have a confession to make, Diane. The Martian Manhunter is not a hero. Not yet. Then, what is he? Let me see. John, something's trolling him. He's in the shower, contemplating his badge. He's getting dressed. Something to hide. So that sets the premise of the book, which I didn't really catch right away until after I was done. And I went back and I was like, oh, okay, I like how that opens up. So here we have Middleton, Colorado, a few years ago. We have John's partner, and we got the news talking about stuff, and he arrives perfectly on time all the time. She's running late, so she's like, dang, I'm trying to eat my cold pizza for breakfast, and damn it, John's on time. So, whatever. Little, just cop banter, and he's trying to tell her, like, look, it's a good thing you didn't eat, because we had a bad crime scene. So they show up, and it's bad. It's not as bad, I think, as make it up to be, but whatever. It's because it's drawings, I guess. If this were a photo realistic, then it might be more gruesome. So here we are, the detectives on the beat, figuring out what's going on. I'm not going to spoil that. Let you read it. I do want you to read these books and not just use me as a way of, unless it's the Bendis Supermans, you can use me as that because you shouldn't waste your money. Or should you? So they're doing investigations, and this is not really crucial, I'm going to skip this, except at one part he discovers, Moon of Mars. Fright foam. No. It can't be. Not on Earth. So there's the hook of the story. And she barges in on him, and he's, got his red eyes glowing, and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She almost catches him. So she's there talking, and, they find Spaceman, which is the iguana. I don't know what the deal is with that. I think it's going to become important. School's out by now, but between security and night classes, someone will be there. I can't wait to go back to high school. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he gets a flashback back to his sometime where everyone treated me like I was from a different planet. So it's a nice segue here back to John's life. Again, the art is mixed here. There are parts of me that I like because I'm like, oh, this is really like alien and just out there. And other reviewers have critiqued this. I've only listened to Tristan's review. And I have to say, I try not to watch other people's reviews generally before I do a review because I don't want their opinions influencing mine. But then on the other hand, sometimes I like to read the comic and then see other people's review because I want to see, I don't know, like I want to kind of validate my opinion. I want to see like what they're seeing. It's a tough choice. There's pros to both sides and cons to both sides. So sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This time I did because I saw a lot of headlines of people hating this book. And I think that's why, because I didn't hate the book. So I was like, okay, now I want to listen to what you have to say. Where, if they had shared the same opinion, I kind of want my opinion to be my own. But anyway, I love blabbing. So you can look at the art, and this is going to be love or hate art, at least from an aesthetic viewpoint. There's nothing that can really be critiqued about this. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Like I have nothing I can say is going to make you like it. I'm okay with it in theory. It's a little too much in my opinion. I felt like I was reading Invader Zim because it's just so cartoony. The problem that I had though is the artist's ability to tell the story. And this whole part got really confusing because not only were there layouts, I don't know who these jackholes are. Who's this guy? Who's this? Right? And well, they turn out to be nobodies. They're just people on the street. But I'm reading Martian Manhunter for the first time. I don't know if this guy is important. And I can't tell who's talking because everyone is psychic. So they just think. No one actually uses words. So there's no thought bubble to be like, this is this guy saying. It could be this guy. It could be someone off camera. It was really like confusing. And I read, this is why I wanted to bring Tristan up. And because she hated this story. And I think part of the reason, if I'm guessing, is she had similar problems. I don't know if she's, she may not be aware of the problems. Like that may be more subconscious. But if you don't understand what the heck's going on, you're not going to enjoy a story. That's just plain and simple. I had to go back a couple times and I was like, what? And so here we see John's coming in. He's a Martian Manhunter. Basically, he's a cop. He's a dirty cop. That's another thing about this story. So your like or dislike of this book, I think, is going to be highly subjective. I'm going to keep going. I'll cover that on the afterthoughts. So he's raiding some guys, and this is where you get to discover that he's, extorting money from criminals. And, oh, hey, look. 2-page spread of Aquaman. In case you didn't know, by the way, there's a movie coming out this December called Aquaman. Looks really good. Watch the trailer. Some Aquaman trades. Oh, I'm going to plug Comixology right now, all month long, is a huge sale on Aquaman. You can get all trades half off. So the Dan Abnett run of Aquaman, if you want to read up and stop before Kelly takes over, you can read all these trades for $4.99 a piece. Just let you know. Moving on. So yeah, here we have John's dealing with his criminal element and almost, someone calling him, and he has to actually talk out loud. And he's at his home and he's all pissed off because people could hear and blow his cover. Then he shows up at home and here's his wife. He's got his kid. And it's like little family moments. And we discover that John's real appearance looks more like this. He just uses his shape changing to look buff and menacing. So there's this alien sex scene that's kind of controversial. I don't have a problem with it. Mostly because it looks just like a big blob of nothing. Tristan was like, oh, we saw alien O-face. And I'm like, I don't know where you're seeing any face at all here. This is... The only reason I know this is a sex scene is because of these two panels. Like, oh, hey, I got it. What's up, baby? I want to hit the... Ooh. And then it's like... Blah, 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 blah. And then you hear a little bit of, cringy, John, I'm almost... we're... kind of unnecessary. I would personally have left that out so it could be more kid appropriate. You can imply sex scenes. You can have two characters like eyeball each other and then like go through doorway and shut the door on the camera. And adults like, oh, we know what's going on. And kids are just like, oh, okay, whatever. You don't need to necessarily show everything that happens. Like, the human mind is better left sometimes to imagination. So moving on. God, I feel like I have to cough. So the afterglow. Here we have, and we get this talk of the woman who's like, oh, John, there's a part of you that's blocked off to me. We need to be more intimate. And he's like, I try to keep this from you, because my job is dirty and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I can take it. That's kind of the general gist. Of course, we, the audience, know that he's a crooked cop and he doesn't want his wife to know. So he's got a part of his brain that he can block off. Otherwise, when they unite like that, when they have like they're in total psychic harmony, their minds are as one. So we come back to Earth, presumably 2 years ago, because that's where we were. And they're driving down the street, and the cops are having a discussion, and something's happening to John's. I don't really know what, but he's driving, and his mind starts to see things, and he ends up driving off the road, to which the car catches fire, and the partner's like, oh, shoot, what's going on? And then she looks over, and it's like, don't, I'm sorry, don't look at me. And then her horrified face, John! And what the hell are you? And we see Martian Manhunter revealed. And so, A Prisoner, written by Steve Orlando, Riley Rossmo, artist. And, next story, First Contact. I liked this. Hey, look. In case the 2-page spread wasn't enough, in case you missed that 2-page spread, there you go. Come on, DC. So, that's my long review. It's actually not as long as some of my other reviews. I know that a big chunk of it was the beginning, and, like I said, please just indulge me. I try not to do that too much, but I like talking about comics and different things, and plus it helps you to know where I'm coming from. Otherwise, my opinions, it's harder to understand. Or harder for you to take, know how to take my opinion. If you know what my perspective is, that my opinion should matter more. Or, anyways, good book, bad book. It's a mixed bag. I think from an objective point of view, it's solid. It's got a good story. It is kind of a crime noir. I liked this idea of this cop from another planet who's come to our planet for, we all, even I know some of the backstory of Martian Manhunter a little bit, like the Martians were all destroyed and he's like the last one, supposedly the last one. But at this point, the audience isn't supposed to know anything. We're just like, whoa, why is he on Earth? And it's this questions that are opened up in this first issue are a really good first act. I want to know more. I want to know who this character is. I don't necessarily care about the partner. I don't care about any other characters so much. That could have been done a little better. The rest of the book, I need to do something about that, but I need that alarm. So it's constantly going off, and I'm having to stitch these things. Anyways, like this book, but I also think a lot of people are going to hate this book. Don't take just my review. Watch Tristan's Newsstand. Yellow Flash did a review. I haven't watched it yet, but I gather from the title that he didn't like it. I'm showing you the art. You can look at that right from yourself and say, I'm okay with that, or holy shit, that's ugly. I'm not going to buy this book. I think that's enough. I have confessed that the narrative is a little confusing because of the art, and I don't think the artist is very strong at doing sequential storytelling. But the writing kind of makes up for that. It's a mixed bag. First issues often are really hard to tell anyways. Sometimes the first issue can start off with a bang and then the rest peters out, like Martian or Mr. Miracle. Sometimes first issues start off really crappy and, oh, what the hell's going on? And end up being pretty good, like Unexpected. So I'm just here showing you the book, showing you what I thought about it. This one was a hard book to review because my thoughts aren't concrete. I'm still not really sure. I do know, though, that the story I'm digging. I do know that I want to pick up the next issue and see where this goes. And that's the crux of it. So I'm going to give this a recommendation, just a hesitant one. All right, let me know what you thought down in the comments. Like, subscribe, tell other people. Help me get a couple more viewers. That'd be really cool. Also, say what you want to say. I love having conversations. I try to comment back to everyone that talks to me. And hit me up on Twitter at Ash1138. Talk to you later.